Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. I have a lot of tutorials on a variety of table runners, table toppers, and tablecloths. But maybe you're wondering, what do I really use? Well, I do use a lot that are in my video tutorials, but I'm going to share with you the ones that I have made for myself over the years, because I really like having table toppers, especially if you've got a table where it's all scratched up and doesn't look so good, which I've had throughout my life. And so by making some of these, you can kind of cover the flaws, and it just makes your dining area just sort of look like it's well maintained, even though maybe it's not. So here is the first little table topper I ever made for myself. It doesn't have any batting in it. It's just a bunch of squares and triangles on it that I stitched together. I had leftover pieces from a quilt, and then this is what I made. And I just have plain fabric on the back and a little bit of binding. And I made this for a small round table that had scratches on it, and I wanted to cover it up. Now let me show you one, this one here. I really love this. I made this for a table that had a lamp on it, and I had a lot of pale blues, greens, and yellow in the home everywhere. So I thought that this would be really pretty. I cut out squares that had birds in them, these large birds, and I thought it was so pretty. Now this one I've made for cotton batting because I realized I wanted something a little heavier so it would protect the table from the lamps or a heavy vase, whatever I was using to put on top of it. This one is bigger. It's the same pattern except it's bigger. And at one time I had a small round dining table, which I don't have anymore. I wish I did, but we moved and I didn't have room for that table. But it was such a beautiful room. It had windows everywhere. And I made this with this huge, pretty vase sitting in the center of it. And it just looked gorgeous, and it was really, really cheerful. This one doesn't have batting in it, but I put heavy iron-on interfacing. There's no binding on the edges. So this one is really, really easy to make. This one, I love orange. I don't want to have orange walls, but I love accents of orange. And I thought this was so pretty. I had this in a kitchen at one time. We had this really large kitchen with a big bar area, and I needed something to sort of make it feel like it was filled in because it was so big. And I made this. It had a big green vase in the middle with big orange flowers coming out of it and other little things sitting around it, and it was really, really pretty. If you are interested in making a little table topper like this, I do have a video on this particular one. So check below your YouTube screen for the video links. And here is another table topper that I have a video link to. So if you've got a really big table, doesn't matter if it's a rectangle or a little round table, these will work really well on. So check below your YouTube screen for these. Now these both have cotton batting in them and binding on the edges. Here are just some of the many, many, many table runners that I have made. Not all table runners need to be long. This is a very small one because I had a very small table, which I had this really heavy vase on it. Actually, there were two vases. They matched. And they were sitting on the table, and I realized they're going to scratch up my table. So I made just this tiny little table runner to protect the table from the vases scratching it. This doesn't have cotton batting in it, just has fabric on the front and back, same fabric, with heavy iron-on interfacing in the middle. Now this one, this is just one end of the table runner. but I love this fabric. I just love yellows and greens and oranges. And so I made this table runner, and it was on my dining table for a long time. Now, if you notice when I showed you the table toppers, I had a table topper that matched this. So I had this one in my main dining room, and on my little round kitchen table, I had that little table topper. Now here's one. I switched out eventually to green, and the other end has this little border on it, but I love large prints. I really like this. Now this does not have any cotton batting or heavy iron-on interfacing in it. It just has the fabric on the back and then a fabric on the front with binding on the edges. I like a lot of my table runners to be just light. If I'm going to use them to put food on it, I definitely put cotton batting in it. Now here's one here. This is a really old one. I've had this for so long. This was panel fabric, and I just cut it out and then put this little border around it. So all these little tulips on there, and I found fabric to match the red, and I put these little squares on there with this nice little red border. Again, this does not have cotton batting. It's just fabric on the front and back and binding on the edges. I also like to make table runners for different holidays. I was going through a phase of Irish. I'm not Irish, but I like the shamrocks. I think they're so cool. So I believe I might have a video tutorial on one that's similar to this. If I find that link, I will definitely show it below the YouTube screen. So I'm pretty sure it's not going to be with this Irish fabric or shamrock fabric, but it'll be similar in style. It's just a bunch of squares with sashing stitched around it. This one was really fun to make. Now, my husband, if you've seen him in some of my videos, his heritage is from Korea. His relatives or ancestors were from South Korea. They migrated to Mexico, and so my husband's parents were actually born in Mexico. So a lot of the foods they served were Mexican dishes, so they all loved their chili peppers. So I went through my phase of making a lot of items with chili peppers on it because we'd have these family gatherings, and I just thought it was really cool to have this because there was always not only a bottle of kimchi on the table, but other little chili pepper dishes. And then here's another one with chili peppers on it. Now, if you're going to look for chili pepper fabric, I believe Joann Fabrics and Crafts in their novelty section still sell one or both of these fabrics. I'm pretty sure they still have this one. I'm almost positive I've seen it in there. So if you want to make some fun themes for like especially backyard barbecues, picking little chili peppers is a great little option. Now here's one. It was a very small table runner, but it's got a very specific design in it. And you'll see it starts out with a square, and then it slowly goes out. And there's a diagonal pattern here at the end. So you've got these points here, and they go right out to these points. Now I've never done a video on this one, but if you all are interested in a video on something like this, then please leave a comment below. I also make a lot of tablecloths. I will make square tablecloths for round tables because I like seeing the points of the tablecloth hang over the edges. I also make square tablecloths for rectangle shape tables. And in a moment I'll show you kind of how some of this all works together. But this is a rather large tablecloth, but again, you can hang this on a round table, which is where it was. It was on a round table. And I've also hung these on a square table. So it's like making a giant quilt. It's got great big squares, 4 squares, with sashing strips in between, and in these little squares here are called cornerstones, and then it has this other bright colored striped border on it. There is no cotton batting in this because I find they don't hang very well if there's cotton batting. So there's just the fabric on the back and binding on the edges. Here's another square tablecloth. How this one is constructed is there are 4 squares of this polka dot, and then in the corner of each of the squares I stitched on a half square triangle. So when you stitch all the squares together, it looks like there's another square right there in the middle. And then I had just a plain border going around the edges. This was on a round table, and in the middle I could place either a basket of fruit or a great big vase, whatever you felt like placing in there, and you knew exactly where the center was because of that square. Here's another one that's got a very common quilt pattern in it. There were a lot of half square triangles in this. There were a lot of half square triangles around this center square, and then more half square triangles in this border fabric. And every piece of fabric here has apples on it of different types. Cut apples, whole apples, and little miniature apples. There again is no cotton batting in this, just fabric on the back, whatever you want to use on the back, with binding on the edges. This is a small checkerboard design, and this was going to be in a video a few years ago. I started working on a video with a checkerboard design, then got sidetracked and moved on to something else. So all it is a bunch of squares stitched together in the middle with a plain border around the edge. And if you're interested in having me do a tutorial on a checkerboard pattern tablecloth, please leave a comment below. And again, no cotton batting, just fabric on the back, and there is no binding, so all of the raw edges are hidden inside of the seam. This is probably my favorite checkerboard tablecloth. It's very small. It was over a very small round end table, and it's got different red printed fabric, but it's all the same shade of red, so it works really, really well. And again, no cotton batting, just fabric on the back and then some binding on the edges. Well, I hope that you saw a table runner or tablecloth or table topper that inspired you. And remember, if you saw any that you like, please leave a comment below and say, please do a tutorial on it, because these takes a lot of planning to put a video together, and so it's very helpful from you, the viewers, if you tell me what you are interested in, because I'm more than happy to do videos on requests by the viewers. So if you saw something that inspired you, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and happy sewing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click on the thumbs up button, and don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Click on the bell so you can receive notifications about my latest videos. I'm Cheryl, and this is Scotty, and this is Manny. See you next time, and happy sewing!